And I say 360 because no one ever weighs themselves when they're that heavy, right? Like that's kind of an estimation based on where I was at. Just over a year, I lost like 180 pounds, which is like a human.
So you lost me, basically.
I lost you. I was just getting to the end of my 30s and starting to feel the weight. My kids were young at that point, and I couldn't keep up with like 5 and 6 year old. Daddy's giant. This is not the impression I want my kids to have of me.
Right, a little interruption before we get into today's episode. So I run these shows sponsor free. We will never take on sponsors because everything is self-funded through our Fit Vegan coaching program. So if you enjoy these shows, the best way to support is obviously to subscribe to the channel. But also, if you know anyone over the age of 50 that is looking to improve their body composition, combat sarcopenia, combat osteoporosis, get healthier on a whole food, plant-based lifestyle, to simply send them our way at fitvegancoaching.com, because we are the best in the world in helping people over 50 transform. We have over 1,000 transformation in 20 different countries. So simply send them our way. In addition to that, a percentage of our profit monthly goes towards supporting cancer patients with their treatments and bills and whatever they may need to support themselves and their family. So you're also supporting additional people outside of the work that we'd be doing in the program. That is all I have for you today, so enjoy the episode. So actually, before we dive into today's episode, I just want to quickly announce we are doing our only Fit Vegan workshop of 2025, which is going to take place on September 20th to 21st in Vancouver, BC. It's going to be an awesome time. To the event, we're going to bring you through multiple workouts. You'll get to have some hands-on coaching with our staff of Fit Vegan coaches. You'll get to connect with other like-minded individuals. You'll be able to eat Fit Vegan approved food. That's going to be whole food, plant-based, higher in protein. It's going to be an absolute blast. So if you want some more information on that, I invite you to check out the link down below in the description. We can only take on 30 members, 30 clients for the workshop. So if you are a Fit Vegan member, you do get a saving on the workshop. Just check the Fit Vegan app. If you're an alumni member as well, just reach out to us. We'll be able to give you the code so that you can save some funds. If you are a member, you want to bring a friend, you will also be able to get a saving for your friends. And if you're from the public, the workshop is pretty cheap for everything that's going to be included in it as well. So you might as well join and come and join us and have an awesome time. And if you've been wanting to work with our Fit Vegan coaching program, might as well join and get the discount on the workshop. Again, spots are limited at a time of this recording. We only have about 15 spots left for the workshop because I announced it to our members first. So head down below to the link, check it out, and look forward to seeing you in Vancouver in person. All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Fit Vegan podcast. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Jeremy LaLonde, the award-winning filmmaker turned plant-based content creator with PB with J, Plant-Based with Jeremy. So Jeremy went from tipping the scale at 360 pounds to losing nearly half his body weight through a whole food, plant-based lifestyle, and has since turned that transformation into a mission, making vegan eating simple, delicious, and fun for busy people. So whether he's sharing comfort food recipes, busting nutrition myth, or reviewing cookbooks on YouTube, Jeremy's honest, no-nonsense approach has inspired thousands to rethink what healthy looks like. Jeremy, welcome to the show, brother.
Wow, that was, I'm going to steal that introduction and use it in other purposes. Thanks.
Yeah, well, you've done some pretty cool things. And again, a fellow Canadian, so I'm happy that we get to connect. And I'm sorry that you're stuck in the snow. I don't know if there's any snow right now.
It's gone now. It's just, but it's very. I call this the Canadian spring. You understand? It's like you have to dress in layers. Yeah. Because it could snow in the morning, and then you're in a t-shirt in the afternoon.
Yeah. Oh, good old east side of Canada.
Right.
I'm happy I got out. So yeah, man, like obviously you've had like a big physical transformation. I definitely want to talk about that, but I would assume that I'm gonna make an assumption, like with that transition from filmmaking to kind of doing the work that you do, had to do something with your transformation?
In terms of just why I or just like the content creation?
Yeah. In the plant-based space, like did you go plant-based and then lose the weight? Did you go plant-based to lose the weight?
Right. No, it was, it all kind of just came together. Like since my entire life, I've been overweight, right? With a brief stretch in high school where I played football, and just so the naturalness of just being on the field for like 2 or 3 hours every single day. And I was still a lineman, so I wasn't tiny, but I was burning like so many calories a day. So whatever I ate, it didn't matter, and I was working out. But then, of course, as often the case, you get that teenager metabolism, right? And if you're an athlete as well, you can down a large pizza and it just falls right off of you. But it's like, once I stopped playing sports, I didn't stop
keep eating like it.
I didn't stop downing that pizza. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, and because, my career took me into the arts and whatnot. And, that kind of career is just all consuming. So for me, it was just like, well, I can't prioritize my health. What an insane idea. I've got to just go all in on my work. And that work isn't the most physically demanding either. Right. So, it didn't take long for the pounds to just kind of creep up to the point where I was, and I say 360 because no one ever weighs themselves when they're that heavy. Right. Like that's kind of an estimation based on where I was at. And then I think it was just like, I'm lucky. I never had that moment where I had a doctor saying, hey, you're in real trouble here. I wasn't on any medication yet. I didn't have like a health scare. I was just getting to the end of my 30s and starting to feel the weight in a way that I'm feeling more sluggish. My kids were young at that point. And I couldn't keep up with like 5 and 6 year olds, just running after them. I was winded. And I was like, and they were starting to like, not make fun of me, but just make comments about daddy's giant. Daddy's and I was like, and it kind of hit me in a way that was like, oh, this is not the impression I want my kids to have of me. Like, this is not the relationship I want to have with my kids where I'm not able to like do physical activities with them. And luckily my partner, my wife, who is known on our channel as Wooly, she was already vegetarian and she had been for a long time. And so the course of just being with her, I'd already switched over to more of a pescatarian diet, which still isn't, as it's like, Oreos are vegan, eating, not eating animal products doesn't necessarily make you healthy. Right.
Yeah. No.
And so I called it my long farewell process where I, slowly started eliminating things over time. But then by the time I got to that point where I was like, I need to lose some weight. And I'm an all or nothing kind of guy when it comes to like big moves, where I'm like, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to go all in. So I told myself, I'm like, you're going to spend the next 6 months focus on your health and losing weight. And so I just started doing the research, right? I was already eating like mostly plant-based. I was still having a little bit of like ovo-lacto vegetarian stuff and a little bit of fish. But then of course I started looking into all, like, what are some other stories of like big weight loss, right? And I come across like Penn Jillette, Kevin Smith, and other people that were in the entertainment industry, and seeing how they had lost, significant amounts of weight as well. And all of these stories seem to focus around the same thing. It was like, they're all reducing, animal products. They're all going plant-based. And so, especially reading Penn Jillette's book, which I can't remember the name of off the top of my head, led me to like Dr. McGregor in that book, or Furman, one of those guys. And then once you get to those two guys, just the whole world opens. Yeah. And it becomes like, it's like going into Oz for the first time. It's like, oh my God, the world is colorful. It's not this bleak black and white thing. And so just looking at that going, okay, well, at that point, I'm like, well, I'm going to reduce and try to get to like 90% plant-based. And then of course it just naturally became 100% really, really quickly. And just moving my body more too. Cause I kind of just realized I'm like, it's not just all going to, I wanted to lose it quick too. I was like, I want to do this aggressively. And in my mind's like, if I just do it fast, it'll be done with. I'll never have to worry about working out again. I'll never work out a day in my life after I lose all the weight. Cut to me every single morning, sweating in my living room, as it goes. But so I just took an approach. I was like, I'm going to eat clean for 6 months. I'm going to work out every day for 30 minutes to an hour. And if I don't see a change in my health, then I'm not meant to lose weight. And of course, it just fell off. I lost 10 pounds a month on average, where over the course of like, within like just over a year, I lost like 180 pounds.
Yeah. Wow.
Which is like a human. I lost another version of myself.
To be fair, I weigh 183 pounds. So you lost me, basically.
I lost you. You're gone now.
Yeah, exactly. I meant to ask at the beginning, how tall are you? So that just for the context of the 360, like, are you 7'2" or?
God,
You're like,
no. Yeah. No, I can't. No, my frame is not designed to hold 360. I'm like 5'10" and a half.
okay, okay. Just so I have some context. Because the people are like, I'm 180. I'm like, are you 5'1" or are you 6 foot? You know, it's very different,
That's just
looks
it,
very
right?
different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was gonna say, like, was there any friction or any bumps in the road along the transition to eating whole food and kind of exercising? Because I like that you gave yourself a shot. You're like, hey, I'm going to do this exercise. I'm going to do these things over the course of 6 months. And if it doesn't work, then like, screw it, I'm going to quit. But was there any like bumps that could have caused you to go off track, but you decided not to?
I got pretty lucky. Like, I think the fact that I was seeing the results so aggressively was just so exciting for me. And I was like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness, like all this is working. All the work I'm putting into it is working. I was lucky. I also had a partner that was very supportive of it. Um, and in terms of bumps, I think it was just the usual things that people go through is like, at one point you hit a plateau
Yeah.
and now you've just got to like amp up something and so for me it was like doing intermittent fasting and just cutting out like a late night snack,
Yeah.
and just only, not eating after dinner and then making sure I got my workouts in the morning before I ate, right? Which I can ask you because I read a lot about like workout first, get your metabolism going because it'll help burn more throughout the day. Is that a thing?
It's so minimal. It doesn't make a difference, to be honest with you. Because if you let's just say quote unquote speed it up with that, but then you end up eating more at the end of the day, it will
Right.
cancel the whole thing out. So
Yeah. No, I didn't do that, but it was just more. I think also for me, it's just like I like physical activity. I like playing games. I like sports. I like going for a hike or a walk. I don't love gym stuff. So for
yeah,
me, I'm like, if I just do it first time thing of the day and get it over with, then
yeah,
it's done. Where if I'm the kind of person, if I scheduled like a gym workout midday, I would not. I'd make excuses to not get around to it.
yeah.
So for that just works for me.
Yeah, what's the most important factor if you like it enough to do it? Because you can have the best plan in the world, but if you don't like it and you don't do it, then who cares if it's optimal at the optimal time with the optimal exercise? It's still not getting done. So as long as you're
Yeah,
doing it and having fun.
that's just it. And for me, it's just like it makes me feel good having done it, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It's I think in terms of writers I know within the film and television industry, there's people that like to write and people that like to have written.
yeah,
I like to have worked out. I don't necessarily get the endorphins from it the way some people do.
yeah,
But I like sport. I like exercise that doesn't make me think like I'm working out.
yeah. So in terms of exercise, it seemed like that was more of like a pleasant switch for you to kind of do that. In terms of the nutrition, like how did that transition happen? You mentioned from pescatarian to like eating whole foods. Did you think of like, I'll just eat whatever I want as long as it's whole food plant based? Did you give yourself a little bit of structure? Did you track your food? Did you make yourself a meal plan? Like, how did you go about it?
Yeah, like I went because again, anal like A-type personality, probably a little ADHD. I went super structured with it because I was like, I'm the kind of person like I need to have a plan. I need to
Yeah.
be able to figure it out. And also, and to the point where if I did have a bump, it was going too far with all of this stuff I'm about to mention. Um, so I'll say it with that bit of a caveat because I also did tracking, because I looked at it from a scientific point of view too, all this weight loss and went, well, if 3,500 calories is a pound, I've got
Yeah.
to burn that many calories minus the deficit of eating, and I've got to make that work. So I would track my calories, and make sure that I was burning more than I was eating. But
Yeah.
also because uh, I like to eat as well. So for me, what was great about that was it really taught me to learn about nutrient density and
Yeah.
realizing, oh, I can eat more of these foods because they're less calorie dense. If I cut out, oils for the most part, like and eat, avocado instead or nuts instead, it's more filling,
Yeah. More
and
volume.
more volume, right? So what I really, and I still encourage people to do a little bit of calorie counting just so that they can understand the currency of food,
Yeah.
right? And what because that's this one thing. If you look at like uh, I used oil for the example, so I'll keep on it. Like, on average, like a tablespoon of oil is 100 calories. And as soon as I realized that was equivalent to like an apple or two apples, depending on their size, or like 100
Banana, 3
raspberries,
dates,
or
a
like a
bunch of
slice of bread,
strawberries.
I was like, I'd rather have any of those things
Yeah.
than that oil, because it's going to fill me up. And it's got all of the other nutrients and everything inside of it. So it's just like, well, that's a no brainer for me. Right.
Yeah.
And especially because I've found so many different replacements that I'm like, well, why would I use oil when, scientifically speaking, I can use all these other things that will replace it for me just as well. Right.
Yeah.
So stuff like that. And so that was really, really helpful, doing that and just getting the sense of it. But of course, my if I have a downfall to what I did, was that I also got a little bit addicted to like I'm losing another 10 pounds and another 10 pounds and another 10 pounds, to the point where I stopped kind of listening to my body. And at one point I was like, I got really, really skinny, like too skinny. And I wasn't also like building muscle the way I should have at the time. Right. So I was losing all the muscle along with all the fat as well. Right.
Yeah.
To the point where like people in my life were worried that a lot of people thought I had cancer because I'd gotten so not anemic, but just so skeletal. But I didn't feel bad. Like, I went from a double X to a small size clothing within a year and a half, which is insane. Right.
Yeah.
So for me, I had to really, really stop myself from doing the calorie counting and the daily weighing and all that kind of stuff, because it was becoming such a crux for me. And realize that, I need to actually probably gain a little bit of weight back with muscle and whatnot, and shift up my routines. And also, I'm like, I know how much food costs, calorically speaking. I don't need to weigh my grapes anymore. That's a bit much.
Yeah, you can eyeball it at one point.
That's just it. Well, and if you do it for like a month or two, like you could probably hand me a plate of food.
Yeah.
And I could, within a ballpark of probably 50 to 100 calories, tell you what's that plate is worth just by looking at it, right?
Yeah.
Which I'm sure you can as well. It's outside of sauces hide all sins, right?
Yeah.
But if you're looking at just the whole foods, I can get within a kind of a ballpark. And so for me, it was just learning that balance too, right? That if it's okay if I'm going to go a little over on one thing in one meal of the day, well, the next meal I'll go a little bit lighter, and just realizing that not every meal has to be perfect, as long as I have some kind of balance throughout the day and throughout the week.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you. I think tracking has its place, especially at the beginning, because most people don't have an awareness of what they're consuming. They eat a whole meal and they're like, well, this was good and I'm still hungry. I'm like, that was like 900 calories. You barely had any fiber in there. You barely had any nutrients. And tracking is like, I think money and food are kind of the same. Like, how do you know if you're overspending or not? How do you know if you're overeating or not? You have no idea until you measure it.
Yeah, I use that same metaphor all the time. It's like people that get their job for the first time and they blow all their money on the first day, not realizing that was supposed to last you all week.
Yeah. Well, hey, to all new entrepreneurs out there,
but that's just it.
A bit of a mistake. Yeah.
But in terms of like health, you don't go into debt in the way you do with money, but you get unhealthy. That's your debt is weight gain and all the things that lead to that over the course of time.
Yeah. And then, fat loss, or kind of what you went through, is now you have to budget to pay off that debt. So you have to create that deficit so that buffer pays off the debt of excess weight that you've gained, basically.
Yeah. And that's just it. And that's why I went with that. It was literally like me creating that plan of like, well, if I burn this many calories per day and only this many calories per day over time, but it's just similar. It's like the finance. It's like paying off a loan that my body had taken out.
Yeah, and people hate tracking their money, and people hate tracking their food.
Yeah, but they also
stuck.
But then people also hate taking medications that they probably don't need to take or shouldn't take. So you pay one way or another, right?
Yes, yeah, and one is more costly long term.
That's just it,
for sure. Yeah. How was that transformation with your partner? Like, did she embark on like doing the exercise with you and transitioning to veganism? Like, how did that come about? Because I feel that a lot of people wish that their partner was in it with them.
Yeah, I'm so lucky because mine was like Emily. Actually, she's had like for the last almost like probably a decade and a half now, has been dealing with like gut health issues, like leaky gut kind of stuff. It's never like
Yeah,
stomach stuff is so difficult because everyone's are so different, and so she's
yeah,
never been able to get a proper diagnosis, and she's tried literally everything. But the one things that she basically had to become gluten-free vegan overnight because uh, of all the things that she couldn't eat, if she was finding she couldn't eat. So she actually started eating plant-based around the same time I did for those reasons. And so I was the luckiest person on earth where I had a partner who was like, yeah, I'm going to eat all the same stuff you eat because I need to do it for myself as well. Where I
yeah.
know that's rarely the case for a lot of people.
Yeah, usually the partner will be the one kind of dragging them down and being like, "Hey, it's Friday night. We should probably order like a pizza or something." And it doesn't make it easy. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, no, we see that. I know, like, just from our community through our channel and our membership, like that's a very common thing, right? And that's one of the reasons we created the membership too, was to have a place for people that don't have somebody else in their life that they can share ideas and talk to, and just even just a place to like complain if they need
yeah,
it,
yeah.
right?
Because usually people tend to be the black sheep of their family or their community. They're like the only one that's like eating vegan. And if you're whole food plant based, it's like even more niche to veganism.
Yeah.
You'll find even less people doing it in your community. Um, would love to talk about like PBOJ. Again, love the name of the channel. How did that come about? How did the transition from like, from filmmaking going to content? Are you still doing filmmaking, by the way?
Yeah, as much as the industry allows right now, it's in such a
Okay.
weird turmoil state of just like funding doesn't happen the way it used to. But also just for me, I mean, this has also just become really time consuming with the way I've kind of taken the content. But I
Yeah.
think it's been organic because, having spent 20 years in the film and television industry in Canada, like the stuff I've been doing on YouTube and with PB with J has been the path of least resistance in my entire life. I've never been able to like get so much traction, not with so little effort, because I put a lot of effort into it,
Of
but
course.
to see the effort match the feedback in a way, I guess I'll
Yeah.
say. I don't want to say the reward, but you know what I mean. Like, where I'd spend 3 to 4 years making an independent film, and then you got to do the award, the festival circuits, and then try to get it distributed, and you don't know however many people are going to see that ever, right?
Yeah.
So you could spend several years on a project that maybe a couple thousand people see, depending on just the luck of how it all works out. Where if I have an idea for a video, I can kind of script it out, plan it, shoot it. Even in the fastest version of it, I could write it that morning, shoot it that afternoon, edit it that night, and put it up.
Yeah.
And within like the end of that week, it might have 20, 30,000 views for people. So it's just like, as someone who's always wanted to create content to kind of connect with other people and to
Yeah.
share stories and conversations, it just felt like the most organic path. And it's the kind of thing that I go now, I'm like, well, I wish I would have thought of this earlier, and it came from such an organic place because I never set out to become like a content creator. For me, it was always being a filmmaker. But what was happening as I was losing the weight, people kept on asking me, is like, well, what are you doing? How are you doing this? And I found myself writing the same email over
Yeah.
and over and over again to people. And I just realized, I'm like, well, what if I just started making some stuff that I can share with people? And
Hmm.
then I maybe don't have to have the same conversation over and over again. And I'm a filmmaker, so my brain thinks in visuals and working that way. And so it all just kind of happened organically from there. And I'm just still, I'm still figuring out as I go. What I also love about YouTube as a format to create content is it's not structured in the way that traditional film and television in particular is, where it's like, well, this is your show, it has to do this every week. You have to
Yeah.
do, this is your show and this is what it does every single week. Where I feel like on YouTube, I can, create a new thing every single time, within our niche and what we
Your
do.
theme, yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, as long as it's plant-based, and and kind of in terms of what you mentioned in your intro, is like, it fits those kind of themes, and those, it's about people that are busy, people that are, no nonsense, like all those kind of things. As long as we, keep it within the arena that we've built, we can play any game we want to play,
Yeah.
and we'll find what, what we'll call repeatable formats or series types of videos by accident. One of the more popular things we do on the channel is these cookbook reviews,
Yeah, I saw those.
which just happened literally by accident. My wife was on the street, and literally there was a cookbook on the street, this plant-based cookbook. And I thought, well, that'd be a funny idea for a video. Why don't we cook from that from a week and see if it's really deserved to be thrown out in the street? And then by the time we posted it, I realized I just did a cookbook review. Like, that was not what I was thinking of doing. And people really, really responded to it. And so now that's something we do usually like twice a month. We'll do 2 cookbooks a month. So that's something that grew organically.
How do you guys review them? Do you make like a bunch of recipes of like breakfast, lunch, and dinners from that book for a whole week?
Yeah. So now what I try to do is I pick about 6 or so recipes, because we also post the recipe as well. And I've talked to enough cookbook authors that they don't mind so much, because they kind of, I felt bad. I was worried about it at first. I'm like, am I giving away their copyrighted information? Are they going to get upset about this?
It's free marketing.
Well, that's just it. It's no different than like how the radio plays a single for a new album, So it's like, people got to hear it so they know the sample. And I just know through links and whatnot that there's a lot of people have bought the cookbooks based on our recommendations. So I don't feel bad about it. But at the same time, there's only so many meals we can cook in a week as well. So I try to pick about 6 or so, and I try to find a range of, a dessert or 2, meals, a breakfast or 2 kind of thing. But then also trying to pick things that aren't in every single cookbook. I don't need to review another tofu scramble.
So many combination of spices you can do for it.
Well, that's just it, right? But also, it's like, because our kids are also reviewing it, and they don't care about protecting people's feelings. They're just honest to a fault. Yeah. So, I try to pick things that they haven't had versions of before, because that's just their default answer. Like, we already had something like this before.
Yeah.
So always trying to keep them on their toes as well. But also now what I'll do is, when I bring a cookbook home, I give it to them, and I was like, pick some recipes that you want to try.
Yeah.
And I try to get them, and I try to get everyone else in the family to like mark. I use little sticky notes, and they mark up the pages with all the recipes they want to try. And then I'll go through it and then just try to make sure there's a balance to it.
Yeah.
And then, then I just videotape while I'm cooking.
Yeah.
And then
it's like a vlog a little bit, when you guys like the style that you're doing. It's very like vlogish.
Yeah. And that was the other thing I wanted to do. Like, the one thing I kind of realized when I started making the videos was that I'm not going to be able to do this on a weekly or, bi-weekly, twice a week, as we do now, basis, if I have to like make everything perfect and super, if I have to take my perfectionism from as a filmmaker, I'm not going to be able to do it, because I don't have time to set up the lights and make everything look perfect. I'm just going to make it look like our life. Yeah. Which I think is what people respond to as well, is the fact that we aren't like, our kitchen looks like other people's kitchens. The lighting's not perfect. It doesn't look like a set. It's just kind of what it is. But also, we were hesitant too about like putting our lives on camera for the world, because also I didn't want us to be like one of those YouTube families where the kids are or the kids have to be perfect or just awkward on camera. I was like, if I'm going to shoot us, we're going to be who we are, and we're going to be imperfect, and we're not always going to say the right thing. And sometimes the kids are going to, chew food with their mouths open and talk at the same time. And that's just going to be the way it is. So it's kind of ended up being vloggy, which I think people tend to enjoy as well, because it's more of a reflection of real life.
Yeah, they appreciate it more, because we we started doing cooking videos maybe like a year ago, and I was very much of the same mentality of like, let's make this as high production as we can with the kitchen that we have. So it was more in the editing, right? It was like quick cuts. I'm like, here are the ingredients and kind of the mixing. And then one day we just were like, you know what, let's just record the whole thing because this is so much freaking work. And we just joked around, like picking up my wife, biting her butt mid cooking, and like just like us being us. And then people were like, they loved it so much. So we just do that. And it's so much easier to maintain than to have this like perfect high production cooking video like you see on TV.
That's just it. And it's like, and that's what people want. Like the reality is, there's so much content out there. It's not hard for people to find recipe videos for whatever they want to find. You know, the reason why people return is because they're getting to see who you really are. And especially the imperfect, because that was the other thing too, is like, we include all of our mistakes, you know, because I don't have to go back and remake the recipe again.
To make it look good.
Well, that's just it. Just because I screwed it up. I'd rather just put the camera on myself and be like, so this thing, that's mine. My fault. Not the recipe author's, not in it. I screwed this up. Yeah. We're going to eat it anyway. And I've been really fortunate to get, you know, messages regularly from people saying, you've made me stop throwing out bad food. Like, not bad food, but like food that's not perfect. Like, you've given me permission to fail. Because I think that's the other thing in the kitchen too, is like, so many people are scared to step into the kitchen because they're worried it's not going to look as good as their favorite influencer or cook. It's not going to look like the cookbook photo.
Never
it's
does.
Like, it will never look like the cookbook photo. And that's why even when we did our cookbook last year, that came out, I said, all the photos are literally of the meal we made right before we ate it. And we also did recipe testing with like 60 people from our audience. And I asked them to send us their photos too. And I'm like, that it's a lot of it's like our photos in every recipe page, but then usually one or two of theirs as well, to say, this is what it looks like when real people cook it in their homes as well.
Yeah. Because to be fair, it is a skill to make it look good. My food has looked like mush every time I've cooked it. It does not look like what you see in the cookbooks for sure.
No, and that's just it. It's like, it's more important that you get in there and fail, like make a mistake, but then start to figure out, well, why does this suck?
Yeah.
And what can I do to make it better? Even my mother-in-law was over last night, and I left, like, I made a sauce when I was at her place last week, and she's like, I've been using it all week. I keep on doing this and then, but it lost its tang. And so I was just kind of like helping her understand how to build a sauce. And it's like, well, if it's missing tang, that means you need to add some kind of something sour, you know, here. Yeah. And then quizzing her, I'm like, what are your options for sour? And she's like, a lemon. I'm like, great. Lemon, a little bit of vinegar, whatever it is. Like, just, I think so. We know what makes things taste good. So if we just spend a little bit of time kind of training our brain to recognize what's lacking, we can figure out what to add, right? But so many people are just scared to get in there and just mess it up.
Yeah, I think people over complexify cooking and cooking whole food plant-based and cooking vegan food. They're afraid. I think people overthink the micronutrient component. Like, I want to make sure that it hits everything in each and single meal. It's like, not punching everything in chronometer and ensuring that all your micronutrients are hit per meal. It's obsessive and a terrible way to live. You
can't maintain
go in. Yeah. So like, how were you someone that loved to cook prior to starting this channel, or did you develop a love for cooking as you kind of built out the channel?
Yeah, like just because also, like, when I, as a filmmaker, I'd have periods where I just was never home. Right.
Yeah.
And my wife is a teacher, so she had the more regular schedule. So, I was not the house cook on the regular. I could cook. Like, I grew up with my mom taught me how to cook. And I lived on my own for a bit. So I learned how to cook, not well though, I learned enough to get by. But again, like, living with my wife, and just I started cooking a lot more at home, and learning more and more. But then the one thing I did was, when I started to get serious about this as well, during part of my deep rabbit hole, I came across Ruby, which is an online cooking culinary school.
Yeah.
And I noticed they had a a plant-based cooking class that was connected to Forks Over Knives. And they have a couple actually. Chad Sarno, one of the Sarno brothers, Derek Sarno's brother, he was
That's the
connected
mushroom
with
steak guy.
Yeah. He was one of the professors there too. So I decided to sign up for it. I was like, oh, this will help me just like take my skills to the next level and make it more enjoyable. And so I ended up doing all their courses they had. And now I kind of pimped them out a little bit, and they've featured me a little bit, which is very nice as one of their grads. So that really, really amped up the skills, because I think I really liked the idea of cooking, but I didn't know like the rules of it, right?
Yeah.
And it was the same as like when I wanted to be, a filmmaker. I'm like, well, I'm going to read all the screenwriting books, and I'm going to listen to all the DVD commentaries. I just get nerdy, and I'm like, well, I want to know how the engine works so I can build it myself, So putting that time and effort into it is kind of what really fueled my love for being in the kitchen, because now I can just walk in there and be like, hand me a bunch of stuff and I'll make something.
What are some of those rules that you kind of discovered for the kitchen?
Balance for sure. It was like, and especially going whole food plant based, it was about like, making sure there's just some kind of a balance on the plate between like the main things. Like obviously vegetables, as many vegetables as possible in that meal, but I don't demonetize anything. I don't demonize. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I don't demonize carbs. I don't demonize fats, as long as they're coming from a healthy whole food source, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm like, I love carbs. I think I need them for my brain. My body wants them, right? But I don't need to have like 3 different carb sources in my meal. I remember growing up, we'd have mashed potatoes and like a bun on the side of the meal. And now I look at that now, I'm like, why do I need? Because my brain just goes, those are the same thing. I don't need 2 of them, right? Yeah. So it's like going, just building a meal for me is like, well, I need some kind of a starch, my isolated carb ingredient. I need some kind of isolated protein ingredient, and I need some kind of isolated fat ingredient. Knowing that when you eat whole food, like all of those ingredients have all of those things in different percentages, right? But, you want enough of a balance so that the ones that are more focused, you have that. So, I've got my my carb that's going to help my brain. It's going to keep me full. My fats that are going to like make things taste good, but also, fats are good, healthy brain stuff too. And the protein that's going to, keep my muscles going and help me build and all that. And the vegetables that are just like, loaded with all the nutrients, but are also going to help fill me up too, because they're less nutrient dense. And I can just pack as many of those into the meal as possible. So it's about knowing that balance and just going, okay, well, what are the different things I'm going to do? And then it was just learning, the flavors of different cuisines. And even in our cookbook too, we have a whole chapter called Flavors of the World, where it's just like taking 9 different cuisines and going, here's all the like typical like vegetable, like whole food plant-based ingredients, and here's all the typical seasonings. Mm-hmm. Take whatever meal you want to make and use these things and make it. Make a pizza with this. Make a pasta with this, and just use these ingredients, knowing that it's like, oh, I'll put these spices go together. So it was just, for me, it was like learning those kind of things. And then just continuing to experiment and play as I go along.
What's a combination that you did that you're like, I thought this would be good, but this was like actually not great?
Oh, so many. I'm trying, honestly, I can't think of a good one off the top of my head, because I think it's, as you go, creating a meal is kind of like, it's not like painting, it's like sculpting. It's about what you take. I guess it's a little bit of both, but it's like when you take things away, right? You could start off sculpting something, but if it's bad, you go, well, it's different because you're adding with cooking, but you're eliminating with sculpting. But it's similar in the sense that it's like any meal, you can fix any meal. I'm a firm believer, and people, the lazy way of doing it is adding salt or cheese. What most people would do in the past, like just grate a bunch of cheese on it, it'd be great. but there's ways to fix it. So I don't know if I've ever like really had that big of a mix up,
Yeah.
because I've just figured out how to make it work. The bigger challenge we've had is more in baking, because my wife's gluten
Oh yeah.
free, and so just getting the textures right. Like
Yeah.
I've made so many bad cakes
Yeah.
because they just don't rise the right way, and so those are times where I'm like, all right, this is gonna become a cake pop, because those are okay to be dead. So I'm just gonna like turn into this, make
Yeah.
some kind of a healthy little sauce, or not ridiculously unhealthy icing to put on top, and that's what this is going to be now.
Yeah. So you guys mentioned you reviewed a lot of cookbooks. Obviously, you have your own, and just for everyone listening, because I'll put a link down below so they can check it out. But out of all the cookbooks that you've reviewed, beside yours, because obviously yours is going to be good, what are some of the cookbooks that you like really enjoyed, the recipes that were in there that you're we enjoyed like 90% of the meals?
Yeah, I would say that like two of the ones that we've done, and they're fairly recently, were Carly Bedrug's Scrappy Cooking, which is her second in her Plant You series,
Yeah.
and Nisha Vora's Big Vegan Flavor. Uh,
Okay.
and what I like about those two cookbooks, and it's something that inspired the way I put mine together as well, was that they weren't just recipes; they were also trying to teach you how to cook.
Hmm.
There's a lot of information in there, and Nisha's in particular. Nisha's is it's a beast. It's you could injure a person with that if you wanted to use it
Okay.
that way. But it's literally broken into almost like three chapters, where it's like the first chapter is almost like a cooking school, which you can ignore. You can just and she even says that in the intro. It's like you can ignore this section and just cut to the recipes, right?
Yeah.
And it's designed in a way to help you just start using. Stepping in your kitchen and learning how to cook. And Carly's is very similar to that as well, because there's a lot of just the scrappy cooking nature. Like hers is all about like don't waste anything. You've got like the carrot tops. Great, we're gonna make a pesto out of that later on,
Yeah.
type thing. And Carly's in particular, she's got like little infographics for every single recipe,
Ingredient.
every ingredient, that it
Yeah.
just makes it, I think, really easily approachable for people, where I think niches might be a little bit more intimidating for someone starting off. So I would say, for like, if there's two different kind of people in the audience, one that's more adventurous in the kitchen and wants to really dive in, Nisha's book is probably a great fit for you. Where if you're just starting off, especially eating whole food, plant-based, Carly's is great because it's really approachable, and simple, but also the food feels recognizable. It
Yeah.
feels like comfort food. And I know when I was really, really lucky, because I've gotten to know Carly a little bit, I got to see the book before it came out. I got sent like a digital version that even had like all of her markings up, for which also helped me going, oh, this is the process of making a book.
Yeah.
Um, but I remember like getting that book on a Saturday morning and just sitting reading through. And after I was done, I was like, I don't know if we need any more cookbooks. I think this is it. I think Carly wrote the last cookbook anyone ever needs, which is not true, obviously. But those two in particular, I think you would do well to check those out if you're starting off and want like two really solid books.
Yeah, no, I love the image of the ingredients, because sometimes it's an ingredient you're like, what the heck is that? And then you're in the grocery store, you're Googling, trying to figure out what it looks like. And then it's a weird photo, and it's like they show you the whole plant and you're like, what part do I eat? I can't find it in the grocery store. So
Yeah.
I've definitely been there a few times.
Yeah, and also with that one in particular, I think like Carly's, and we strive to do this too. Like in Canada, we have a lower budget, not budget, but lower price grocery chain called No Frills. I don't know if you guys had that
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Quebec. And so I tried to only use recipes for our book that you could get there,
Okay.
because
Yeah, it's
I
pretty
know,
standard ingredients.
well, that's just it. Because I know for me, it's like one of the downsides to doing different books sometimes is sometimes I'll be reading through and I'm like, I don't know what that spice, what spice, and then I have to order it. And I'm ordering
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
whole jar of a spice that I don't know if I'll ever use again or whatnot. So I was like, I want to make things that you can get no matter where. Hopefully, obviously it's hard depending on where you live in the world, but it's like that most people either
We'll
already
have
have in their
access.
kitchen or can get when they walk down the street.
Yeah. No, that's a good idea. Just I'm writing a book this year and there's going to be recipes in it, but I didn't think about that because I'm definitely a Whole Foods guy. All my credit card bills are like Whole Foods, Whole Foods, Whole Foods. And they definitely have unique ingredients there that you wouldn't get at like a No Frills or something.
Yeah.
Um,
I
no,
think it's
that's awesome.
okay to mention those kind of things, but then I think the trick for that is to always just let them know that if they can't find this spice, have a little tip section where people
Yeah.
can either like add their own little notes or just be like, if you can't find this, use this instead.
Yeah. If you can't find it in Canada, take a flight to LA and come and buy it at Whole Foods and come and say hi along the way. Um, so for someone that cooks so much, like what is a go-to meal for you when you're busy?
Stir fries are great. Stir fries are great because you can literally throw anything into the wok, and then again, it's the perfect balance of like vegetables in the pot, cooking rice or noodles over here. And while that's
Yeah.
all cooking, I can throw like a little sauce together in the blender or the magic bullet, and I can air fry some tofu, or and then throw it all together at this, and it all kind of comes together in 20-25 minutes. The longest part of a stir fry is chopping the vegetables.
Yeah.
So if you can get your knife skills up a little bit, you'll speed it up even more so. So that's a really easy go-to meal. That's usually like a Friday night meal for us because it's just to clean out the fridge. Like what's left in the fridge, a stir fry is perfect. Soups are great for that too.
Yeah.
But then also just bowls, right? Like just going, I'm going to roast a bunch of vegetables. I'm going to make some rice or some pasta, and then just get some beans going, and then make a sauce on the side, like stuff like that. It's just so easy because you can, once you get used to knowing how to build a sauce, um, then it's so easy to throw those things together.
Yeah, and if you can master making sauce, it's great. I
That's
haven't. I'm a sauceless man in my meals. Man, I just put salsa on everything. It just
that's
gives it a
fine.
bunch of flavors.
Well, that's just it. And if you got some avocado in there or some seeds or nuts in the meal, then your sauce, that's fine for a sauce, because
Yeah,
you're hitting the acid and the salt. But the basic formula for sauce, if you're trying to have a sauce that just rounds it all out, is fat, sweet, salt, and acid. Um,
all in
and
one.
all in one thing, right? So
Yeah,
say you're making like a green goddess dressing. I think that's a common thing we've seen like variations of. So for
yeah,
that, you're gonna want to you're gonna want to throw in a bunch of herbs or spinach or whatnot just to bulk it up. But usually, your base for that is your fat, which is like could be avocado, it could be cashews,
tahini.
could be like a silken tofu, right? And all of those have a decent amount, enough fat that will carry the flavor across. And then after that, it's just adding in a date or two. If you just add a little, you won't even necessarily taste the sweetness of it, but the sweetness will bring out other things in it. And then
Yeah,
from there, you can add some balsamic vinegar for your acid, or you could add in some apple cider vinegar, white wine, red wine vinegar, and you name it, right? Just kind of playing
yeah,
around and experimenting. And that right there is like a sauce that but you could swap them out every time, right? You could like go, oh, this is my green goddess formula, but I'm out of cashews, but I have
yeah.
some avocado, or I have some silken tofu that I didn't use up.
What I'm just trying to think of that. What if you did? Would it work with like extra firm tofu, spinach, date, apple cider vinegar, and some salt? Would that taste like because the extra firm tofu is pretty like chunky?
No, what you'd want to do is you'd mix that with like a non-dairy milk or just
Okay.
water, even, or vegetable broth.
Yeah.
You just, if you're going to use the extra firm tofu, just throw in some liquid just to help lubricate it,
Yeah, yeah. I was just
right?
trying to think of like how do I make a sauce that's like 20 grams of protein, you just put like a three quarters of a block of tofu in there.
Yeah, you can make that work. It's just it's just literally add enough. Keep on start with less liquid and add it until it gets the consistency you want.
Yeah, yeah.
And with tofu, like all tofu is the same. It just depends on how much it's squeezed out when it's made,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's just liquid added and liquid removed, and then just your blender power. Like I find even we make I make a chocolate tart using silken tofu.
Yeah.
But I've had a number of times where the grocery store is out of silken tofu, so I just tried it 2 weeks ago with firm, and I was like, I don't
Yeah.
think this is going to work, and it's fine. It's thicker, which
Yeah.
I actually didn't mind. It just makes it a little bit different. So I'm also a firm believer of, and I didn't used to be this way. I used to be very anal about like, well, if I don't have this specific ingredient, I can't make the thing.
Yeah.
But I'm just a firm believer also of like, well, make the best choice using whatever you got. If all you've got left in the fridge is like a half a block of tofu and you need to make dinner, like try it. It's like the worst case scenario is it's not your favorite thing and you just learn something.
Yeah.
But I don't think that would taste bad at all.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. We're actually cooking. Today's my day of content, so we're recording a Filipino dish. We're making adobo with soy curls, and there's
Nice.
like a vegan. Is my wife's half Filipino, so I bought her a vegan Filipino book that she wanted, and it's one of the recipes. So we're gonna give it a shot and record it and see what it looks like at the end and how it tastes, and see if we got it right.
That's awesome. That's great.
I read somewhere that you're a fan of, I say brain reprogramming. So the ability to kind of like change your behavior. Is that something you geek out on from time to time?
Yeah, I guess I'm just a firm believer that we're never complete. And that, we're like, I like to hope I'll never get to the age where I think I'm just done as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly reading. I like to try to approach life with a growth mindset as opposed to a fixed mindset. And so I'll read any book that challenges the opinions of things I know.
Yeah.
I know even tomorrow, I think Forks Over Knives is hosting what they're calling the Great Oil Debate between Rip Esselstyn and I can't remember the other guy's point of view because
Is it Garth Davis?
Yes, yeah,
I was looking at stories today. I was like, that's going to be interesting.
right. But it's like, but I love that they're doing that because they're like, look, it's like we believe in a science-backed approach to all of this, and if we have a whole food plant-based doctor that is adamant that olive oil isn't as bad as we thought it was, let's hear him out. And that's the kind of thing where I'm like, I have my own opinions based on everything I've read, but those opinions are based on everything I've read. So I'm not against reading something new and going, okay, well, maybe that's something to consider.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear that because from a body recomposition standpoint, like, yeah, it's silly. If you're in a calorie deficit, like, why would you waste 100 calories of oil on a tablespoon? Which, to be fair, if you're cooking, it's like 3-4 tablespoons you're using to put in that pan, right? No one uses one table. It does nothing. 1 tablespoon in the pan does nothing.
No.
So they're just literally having like a meal's worth of oil in that pan to cook the actual meal. So it is silly. But when you look at, like, for example, athletes that are training at a higher level, consuming more calories, will add oil to stuff just because I can't fathom eating that much food to get all my energy in. So you just kind of cheat your way a little bit with like some oil, some nut butter or things like that, because it's just too much food to eat. So 100%. It is helpful.
That's what I tell people. I'm like, who like come at, and we're very lucky. We don't get many nasty comments, especially compared to some people in our space. But I don't demonize oil. If you want to have oil, throw it in your food. But if you're one of the people who is watching our content and trying to lose weight, I'll tell you right now, the easiest thing to, like, the cheat code to that is just take oil out, because you're not going to
calories.
Yeah, you're just automatically going to shave probably several hundred calories off of your food intake a week, which over time will, if you just cut out like that 1 tablespoon of oil every single day, you'll lose a pound a month.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, right? By not doing anything else. That's all you need to do, right? And so now, add in, a half an hour to an hour of physical activity and, start reducing oils and other things.
Adds up.
It adds up really, really quickly, right? It's compound interest on your weight.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. There's, like you said, it gets divided. You can get into like vegan, you can get into whole food plant based, and then there's going to be like the SOS and raw vegan, and just like there's so many subsections of everything. So to me, it's like if you're eating whole food, plant based, you're eating healthy, you feel good, do your thing. I'm a salt guy for sure with the amount of sweating, and there's always that debate on the salt conversation. But I get pounding headaches if I don't add salt to my food with all the sweating that I'm doing. So it's up to the person.
Well, that's just it. You have to do what's right for you and your body. I just know that if I look at a recipe, generally speaking, I'm like, I can reduce the salt usually in half. But then you just,
And
but
it's still
also
gonna be a
it's like,
lot.
it's still going to be a lot. But also, most people add a little bit of extra salt to their meal on top. So for me, I'm like, I'm going to put enough in that it has a nice base flavor. And
Yeah.
then if, someone's over for dinner and they like more salt, it's on the table. Help yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, add as you wish, basically, if you want it to be saltier.
Yeah, no, I don't. I'm not no salt. But we also just don't use it excessively either.
Yeah, of course, within reason. So with the channel, you mentioned a few times that you had a community. Do you mind kind of sharing with people what that is, what's the cool stuff that goes on in there?
Yeah, so we started it about a little over a year ago, mostly because I try to respond to every single comment that we get on the channel, which is time consuming. But also what I find, it's just almost impossible for me to like, if someone sends a comment and I respond to it, and like, I almost never am able to go back and find that comment to respond again. So I just found that for people that want to really have a dialogue, the YouTube comment section isn't ideal. And at that point, YouTube memberships wasn't a thing. Yeah. So we just started a membership over on a different website called the Mighty Network that we use for that. And it was really just for that. It was a space for us to be able to have deeper conversations with people that we can keep going back and forth, but also a place for people that, like I was saying earlier, just don't have other people in their lives that they can share their struggles with, ask questions, not feel stupid either. Right. Like that's one of the rules of the place, is that it's like, people in there range from people that are entirely whole food plant-based like we are, and people that are just curious, and, the general philosophy of PB with J is don't yuck anyone else's yum. Wherever someone is at on their journey, they're here. Yeah. And the fact that they're here means they're doing better than most people, so we don't exclude anyone for not being perfect. We just applaud the fact that they're here and they're curious. Right. So, just that in itself is a big perk, but they get early access to the videos a couple days early. We do a monthly town hall, we like to call it now, where it's kind of like a Zoom, and it's not like us just giving a presentation, but it's more of the idea of like fostering conversation with everyone else and just, deepening the sense of community. So all these people that are just chatting on message boards, they get to kind of see each other and talk to each other once a month. So we try to come up with like a topic focus of conversation and then let the group lead it. And then we just jump in where need be, but we try to like minimize ourselves in that conversation because we want it to be about everyone else.
Yeah. Well, that's beautiful. Well, I'm going to link the link down below as well for everyone that wants to join and check it out.
Thank you.
So like a lot of things we talked about, like the Cookbook, the community, the YouTube channel, and everything that you guys do, I'll put down below for everyone listening. That way it's just easy to access. So whether you're on audio or on the YouTube channel, everything will be down there. So Jeremy, I'd love to ask you, one last question for the episode. I always like to leave people with a step of action, because at the end of the day, like we talked about a lot of cool information, a lot of great knowledge, but we both know that just having the knowledge and not doing anything with it is not going to change anyone's lives. So what is something that you would like people to take action on based off of your personal transformation?
Yeah, I would say don't look at the mountaintop. Look at the first peak, the first step. Like, if I had started off with the mindset of losing 180 pounds, I don't know if I ever would have started, because that seems impossible. Right. But if I just set out to lose, 5 to 10 pounds in the first month, well, that's something I can build on. Right. Mm-hmm. So progress, not perfection. Right. Make the best choice you can make in the moment you're in, and just be kind to yourself. you're not always going to be perfect, right? It's not about being perfect. It's about making the best choice you can make at any given moment. And if that means I'm at a ball game and the only thing that they have in the stadium is vegan hot dogs and French fries, well, that's my meal today for that meal. And then I'll go home tonight and I'll have a salad and I'll balance it out somehow, right? So make the best choice you can make in the moment you're in, and forgive yourself, or don't be harsh on yourself for moments where you're making, a less optimal choice, because that's just life. Life is messy and hard,
Yeah.
and it's hard enough on us with other people. Don't be hard on yourself.
Oh, beautiful. I appreciate that step of action. 100% agree with that. I think there's a reoccurring theme amongst people that have had successfully transform is to be kind to yourself, because everyone that has done it knows how hard it is and knows how much harder it is if you beat yourself up along the way.
Well, and that's just what people give up, because they
Yeah.
can't be perfect all the time. It's like nobody can be. It's not.
Nope.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, I was like, I had that mindset when I first started working out. Then I'm like, well, once I lose all the weight, I'll never have to work out again, because I'll just maintain it effortlessly.
That's a big dream.
Well, that's just it, right? Yeah. But I don't have to work out as hard as I did, right?
Yeah.
But I still get up every day and I do some kind of physical activity. And I'm not perfect at it. And some days I don't do it because I'm sore or I'm sick but I always return to it and just make it work for your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, like just showing up whenever, if you feel sick, whatever, you miss a day, it's not about perfection. Maintenance is a lot easier to maintain than people think. They think they're going to have to train like an athlete for the rest of their life. You don't need to. Maintenance is pretty darn easy to do. It's only if you have new goals that you have to push harder.
Yeah.
But maintenance is a beautiful place to be.
And you just get into the habit. It becomes the new normal. Like now, if I get up now and I don't do some form of physical activity, even if it's just going for a long walk, I feel off.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah. Awesome. Well, Jeremy, man, I appreciate you for jumping on the podcast. Everyone, thank you very much for listening. And all the links will be down below, so you can go and check out the cookbook, the community, and the YouTube channel. And we appreciate you, and we will see you in the next episode. Bye, everyone.